All right, well, welcome to this episode of After Hours Ag. Again, in our series of Welcome to My Farm podcasts, we have somebody who does something that's a little different than a lot of our farmers, and we have a gentleman by the name of Tony Fast here. Tony is what we lovingly call a farm tuber, and he farms up in northern Montana. He has been doing YouTube now for a while. Roughly 80,000 followers. Is that what you have, Tony?
Yeah, right. Just shy of that.
Just shy of 80,000 followers. I think the first time I ever met Tony, he was at, I think, around 50,000. So Tony's still on the grow. So if you haven't checked him out on YouTube yet, you really should do that. Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, I think that, pull back the veil a little bit for somebody who doesn't watch your channel.
Yeah, we live in northeast Montana and farm with my dad, who is a snowbird, so he's gone in the wintertime. But my wife and 3 daughters, we all live here on the original homestead. Farm around 12,000 acres of wheat and canola, chickpeas, lentils, yellow peas, pretty much southern Saskatchewan type crops. So familiar with some of that stuff. A little bit of corn just for butcher cows and not on the scale of corn and beans anywhere else. So
I want to know how things started on YouTube.
Back then, I think the only one is in 18, I think, somewhere in there. Spring of 18, I would have to go look and see when the first video posted. But I only really knew of Zach, the millennial farmer, was really the only one that I had been exposed to or seen or whatever, sharing the farm stuff. And then thought, well, that's corn and beans. That's nothing what we raise. Like, we probably can do the same thing. So it kind of started from there, and then kind of realized how many other, channels are out there. Welkers. I think I maybe had seen a video or 2 of theirs before I started, and it was more shop projects. Kind of thought they were like just egg mechanics, not necessarily even farming themselves. Just from the first video, they were working on a tractor or something like that, and then got to know them through their truck builds when they rebuilt the international truck. And then all of a sudden you just start seeing this waterfall of way more YouTube channels showing up and stuff like that. So that was kind of the start. Like, let's educate how we do it, because no one can tell their story better on me. Like, I don't want someone else telling my story on what we're doing. You seem like that's all the haters are really good at that. All the protesters or whatever you want to call it. So let's share what we're all about on our own.
What are some, misconceptions that people, especially in the YouTube farming community, there's all walks of life for people who are watching. There's the people who are really into farming, but also maybe it's that person who lives in New York who is like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know. So what are some maybe common misconceptions about maybe those people in big cities have about farming in general?
Every activist, environmental activist or whatever, just paints this picture that agriculture and in general is just horrible. And like, obviously we're living off the land, and if we harm it to make it do what they say we're doing by sterilizing it, by doing whatever we do with chemicals and fertilizer and all that stuff, well, we would put ourselves out of a job by now. Like, we've been using fertilizer since the 70s. We've been spraying weeds since probably before then.
What do you think your farm is going to look like, or what are you hoping that your farm looks like in 20 years from now, as you're moving, potentially even closer to retirement at that point? Where are you, what are some of the goals that you're hoping to get to as a farmer?
I think that's changed a lot for me the last 5 or 10 years. I always kind of figured it would be a keep going down generation after generation thing. And we've got 3 daughters. We're not going to push them towards ag. If they're married a guy that wants to be on the farm, then sure. But yeah, I farm till I'm ready to retire and rent it to the neighbor kid or, whatever. But I think it's just eye-opening. The older you get, maybe the less sentimental about it you get, or realize that the farm isn't everything. For now, I really enjoy what we're doing. We'll keep on going till the Lord tells us we should be doing something else, I guess.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of After Hours Ag. If you enjoyed the content and you want to get the full version of the interview, head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you consume your podcasts. If you really enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and leave us a rating. We always appreciate that and helps us grow and helps us reach more people. And remember, there's still a future in farming, so let's get there together.